All right, welcome everyone. Thanks for coming. Today we are going to talk about the Seattle Services Portal as it relates to street uses launch coming up in 2 weeks, 3 weeks? I don't know, I'm losing track. The weekend of November 7th. Okay, so SDOT's vision, mission, and core values is to keep Seattle as a thriving, equitable community powered by dependable transportation. Our mission is to deliver a transportation system that provides safe and affordable access to places and opportunities. We are committed to 6 core values around equity, safety, mobility, sustainability, livability, and excellence. We have a lot to go over today. Look at all that. We're going to talk about our launch, upcoming events, external workshops. We'll go over just our process steps so everyone understands just at a high level what the permit process looks like in Accela. We'll talk about the communication through the permit process so you understand the automatic communication you'll receive from Accela. We're going to talk a lot about accounts and how that relates to converted contacts and converted permits. And then we'll talk about, kind of what you can do when you're logged in versus what you can't do when you're logged in, and talk a little bit about delegates and how that works. Conversion overview, so you guys will have an understanding of what to expect with your existing Hansen permits right now. And then we'll start going into the portal and what it looks like and how to navigate through the street use side of things. We'll go at a high level, how to create a new permit application, how to find the status of a permit, how to pay fees, how to make a change to an issued permit, how to schedule an inspection, how to find the status of an inspection, and then lastly, we'll talk about how to get help after launch. All right, let's get to it. All right, Accela is a new permit system that's replacing Hansen 7 for SDOT. Accela meets the following city, department, and division goals: improved, consistent, predictable, and transparent permitting and inspections, improved online user experience, and integrated systems for users across departments. We do have a couple of integrations we're doing with SCCI with this launch. All right, so SDOT's last implementation into Accela is also our biggest. That is happening on the weekend, yes, Dale, thanks, of November 7th. You probably already know that we already have our traffic permits, public space management permits, and our annual vehicle permits in there. So come November, the remainder of street use permits will be in Accela, except for street vacations, which technically is not a permit, but we'll try to get that in next year as well. That one was for you, Tina. Okay, so these are the permit types that are going in on the weekend of November 7th. We have our right-of-way construction, which is today's construction use. Right-of-way maintenance, which is a new record type for really designed for very short-term, one-time things like building maintenance. Heavy crane is new. That is only for the installation and removal of large cranes, typically tower cranes. And the minor utility, which is the same as it is today. Our major permits going in is a major permit, street improvement permit, and the final plat. All right, let's talk about some details around launch. So as we're approaching launch, we're going to have to reduce and eliminate services as it relates to us being successful in launching, and also needing to shut down Hansen at some point in time, right? So November 2nd, we will no longer be accepting any modification or new application requests by email. So please plan ahead and apply for that by email the week prior, or wait until November 9th and do it in Accela. On Wednesday, November 4th, our Hansen online web form will stop taking new applications at 5 p.m. And then on Friday, November 6th, that's the day before we go live, the Hanson online web form will stop taking payments at 3 p.m. and Hanson goes down pretty much for good after that. Please also note that we are retiring the email s.utilpermits@seattle.gov that same time frame, right? So since we're moving into Accela, we will not need to rely on email as much as we do today. So we are reducing down to only using s.permits. So the weekend of November 7th is when we are doing our automated conversion and, getting us fully into production in Accela. Please note that for your other Accela needs, Accela will not be accessible that entire weekend because of this launch. Sorry, not sorry. It's good. All right, so that takes us to Monday, November 9th. That is our official launch day. Street use will be closed for typical business on that Monday and Tuesday, except for our Accela phone line and email. So you can still get support around your transition into Accela, but we are not open for normal business. That just gives us some time to just take it all in, get comfortable so that we can come back after the holiday on Thursday, November 5th and start getting into the nitty-gritty world of Accela. Also note on November 12th, sorry. Note on Thursday, November 12th that our SDCI side sewer and curb cut integrations moves into production. All right, so that's some things to know around launch, some important milestones. Please plan accordingly. All right, upcoming events. We are at the Seattle Services Portal overview today. The next one coming up is Utility Permit Overview on October 26th. So if you haven't visited our new Accela 2 updates website, it is live. The link, we'll send this PowerPoint. It'll be available on this Accela 2 updates website, as well as our previous external workshop. The recording and materials are on that website as well. So if you go to just our permits page on seattle.gov, scroll all the way to the bottom and you'll see an Accela 2 updates website, and that's where it's at. And that's how you find information on all things around our launch and these external workshops. Web shops, I like that. Okay, so let's get into process steps. I think this is just a good orientation for everyone just to know what the heck I'm talking about the rest of the way. So we have different types of what we call workflows. The first one is simple. A simple permit is something that we typically do not need a route outside of street use, something that we can just get out the door pretty quickly, right? So our simple permit for R2 is right-of-way maintenance. We have a couple of these already live. One is block party, the other is the construction and storage container. So you do your application and then it goes into our little simple review, and then you're in issuance and inspection right after that. Most of the uses on right-of-way maintenance don't have a lot of inspections to them. We'll talk about that in the construction class on the 28th. All right, so the next one is what we call the full workflow or the full review. For our R2 permits, this is going to be the right-of-way construction, heavy crane, minor utility, utility major, and final plat. The majority of our permits follow this workflow, even for our R1 launch. So first is application. Then we go into screening, which is really the reviewer screening. That is the start of the review phase. And then we go into primary review. Primary review is the street use reviewer. And then if there are required secondary reviewers, such as SDOT traffic for traffic control plan review, or SDOT hub for hub coordination, we would route those out, and those are what we call secondary reviewers. Once the review is finished, we all bring it back into the review evaluation task, and we make sure there's no conflicting comments. If there are corrections, this is where we send it back out to you guys to make some revisions. And then we go into issuance prep, which typically you won't see on my permits, the right-of-way construction, heavy crane, and my utility. You may see this for utility major. There's a bond. And you'll see a lot of this for public space management permits if there's an indemnity agreement. This is where those types of things kind of resolved in the issuance prep task. And then we're on our way to issuance and inspection. All right, so SIP, the street improvement permit process, has its own workflow. It is that unique. There's a lot going on with this one. I suggest you just come to the SIP external workshop for me to talk about it. But pretty much it has 3 phases of review, kind of similar to what it has today, except they're named differently. So conceptual review is 30%, design review is 60%, formal review is 90%, and then we have a shoot off with pre-con review. So pre-con review will be done prior to issuance for all SIPs starting November 9th. Anything new November 9th or converted. All right, so let's talk about communication through the permit process. So as you're all aware, we have to manually communicate with you guys right now through our permit process in Hansen because there's no automation to Hansen. But with Accela, we have options. And so in Accela, we've added, automatic emails that go to the permit contacts along the workflow path. And we tried to design it in a way where you're not getting, overloaded with email, but staying apprised of it. And so Accela will automatically send emails at these steps along the process. I'm not going to go over this in detail, but at a high level, when your application is received, if we're asking for revisions at any point along the workflow, if it's approved but waiting for payment, and also I didn't add this to this slide, but we also have reminders asking you to pay if you don't pay for a certain amount of time. And then most of the inspection results, you do get an email except for waived. Okay, so regarding the communication through the permit process, to receive these automatic emails, you will have to be one of the following permit contacts. So our applicant, on-site, financially responsible party, and owner contacts are all required on every street use permit. So if you're one of those, you will receive this communication. If you would like someone else other than these required contacts to receive them, they will have to be added as an additional contact of authorized agent or contact. Okay, any questions on that before I kind of move on? All right, so let's talk about user accounts. In order for you to apply for permits, change permits, you will have to have a user account. Some of you already have one if you work through any other department already on the portal, like SCCI or FAS. Some of you will have one created for you if you've worked with some of our team on your contact cleanup and conversion strategy. But some of you will also need to create your own new user account. And so these are kind of the steps on how you do that. We have lots of great help articles already on the portal. And so, my approach to some of this is to just point you to those steps rather than have to, redo it and possibly lead you astray. So go to the Seattle Services portal, click on Register for an Account link in the upper right-hand corner. And then to find the steps on how to register for an account, you can go to the Help Center, click on Getting Started, And all of these two articles are available for you. Well, there's one article and one video to understand how to set up a new account. So after you create your account, you'll be sent an email. Go to that email because you have to verify your account at this point in time. In your email, click on the link that's provided. This link will take you to the login page on the portal, right? And so at this point in time, you have to activate your new account. And this is the article and the video that shows you the steps on how to do that. Also in the Getting Started help page. And please write down your username and password when you do that. All right, so that's all to say. If you have a contact or 2 or 3 already in Hansen, let's talk about what that's going to look like after launch. So there is a way that you will be able to view your converted permits if your user account links to a converted contact. But the matching rules are, I don't know how you would say this, tricky. I'm going to say tricky. And so this can be very difficult if you unintentionally have multiple contacts in Hansen, or if you're not sure what contact information is in your Hansen contacts, it may not match or link, right? And so the approach today is just to make you super aware of this issue. And if you have problems after launch, don't worry. We have a bunch of really smart people that are going to be able to help you through it. But first, let's try to get you in the know of how to link those converted contacts before you reach out to us. All right, so this is kind of a complicated thing. So I really did not try to recreate the steps in this particular help article. It's very detailed. It's very good. I've walked through it a couple times myself. So if you need to create a new user account, you also need to link to a converted contact if you had a contact in Hansen, okay? So do not go through the registration process without really reading this help article. This is what's going to help you link up your Hansen contact and then get you all the permits and contacts visible on your records page. So again, go to the portal, click on the help link, but this time go to the Permits-Street Use Help Center page, and then click on how do I register for a Seattle Services portal account to see my converted street use permits. Okay, so once you've done all that, now you can log into the portal and do some really cool things. So again, go to the Seattle Services portal, click on the login button, enter the username and password that you just created, and click the login button. If you do forget your password, you can ask for to change that here. Okay, let's talk about what it means to be logged in versus what it means to not be logged in. There are certain things you can do if you are logged in and a permit contact or a delegate versus if you're not. So in the green here, with underneath the key, if you are logged in and you are one of those permit contacts, the 4 required permit contacts, or a delegate, you can apply for applications, withdraw an application if something was submitted in error, view and upload documents, respond to corrections, make changes to an issued permit, assign delegates. If you are not logged in and not a permit contact or delegate, you can search for permits, you can view permit information except for documents, you can make payments, and you can schedule an inspection. Okay, so let's talk about delegates for a little bit. This is a way, I know a lot of organizations have, lots of people applying for permits under that organization, or they have subcontractors or whatever working for them. So if you are interested in adding individuals or organizations as a delegate to your account, there's lots of information on the portal on how to do that. So again, go to the Seattle Services portal, click on the help link. This time you go to the Managing Your Account Help Center page. There's a video you can watch, and then there's these 3 different articles. One is how to manage delegate permissions, how to add a delegate to your account, and then if you are the delegate, this is how to accept delegate permissions. Okay. All right, let's talk about permit conversion. For our release 2, we are doing an automated permit conversion. Just know that there is no one-to-one relationship between Hansen and Accela, but we did our best to make the information make sense in Accela. So the approach is any open permits in Hansen, that means they're not closed out, will be converted into Accela. There's some minor exceptions to that, but those permits are so old, it's not even worth going into. One thing to note that if you have an in-process modification request in Hansen, it will show as an issued permit in Accela, and the reviewer will have to go back into Accela and from the back office start that amendment process. So modifications are called amendments in Accela. But one good thing is your old Hansen number will be referenced in converted Accela permit number, right? You just have to be aware of what our new Accela record IDs are for the permit type. So we are only converting construction use, minor utility, UMPs, and SIPs over, right? Since we didn't have waterway construction or heavy crane created yet in Hansen, there's nothing converting into those. All right, so for right-of-way construction, construction use will convert to a right-of-way construction Accela permit. The record ID will be Sue Const X and then your Hansen number, right? Minor utility is Sue Util X Hansen permit number. UMPS is Sue UMP X Hansen permit number. I mean, this could be a really good song. And then we have SIP, Sue SIP. That's my personal favorite. Sue SIP X Hansen permit number. Any questions on permit conversion? Okay, so here's just an overview of our permit conversion. Our high volume applicants will receive a spreadsheet noting all converted permits instead of sending you a million emails. For the rest of our applicants, we kind of have a 2-pronged approach. Permits that were initiated in 2020, all those 4 required permit contacts will receive an email about that converted permit. And then permits initiated in 2019 or earlier, only the financially responsible party will receive an email, right? So if you're not able to see them quite yet in the portal, you'll receive an email that it exists.
We also have a question from Isaac Sayers. Will this new system allow permits to be reviewed and issued at a faster rate?
I mean, obviously, there's a lot of automation coming with us launching into Accela. We designed it in a way to make our processes as efficient as we can. with it, and then we'll continue that work ongoing. So Accela brings us a lot of automated features to it, but there's still a lot of work to be done. So, our goal is not necessarily to bring you faster permitting, because we only have the resources that we have, especially during a recession. But, it's what we are required to do is give you a more transparent and predictable system. And that's what we're really accomplishing with Accela. So do we anticipate that after we get through this launch, and that means like next year, you guys, right? Like we have to learn this whole new system, and so do you. Will timelines decrease? We hope so, but right now we're seeing an uptick in applications. So it really depends on volume, resources, and how we're able to do that. We'll continue improving our systems though, now that we're through this big hole. So, it's TBD. Thanks, Isaac. Okay, so we're talking about permit conversion still. We talked a little bit about converted contacts, how that works so that you will be able to see your converted permit after launch. We also have a help article out there on how to search for your converted street use permit. And so again, if you go to the Seattle Services portal, you click the help link here. Under the permit street use help page, click on this, how do I search for my converted street use permit? Okay, so that's our permit conversion overview. Let me know if you have any questions. All right, so let's talk about the portal and what it looks like. Some of you may already be pretty familiar with this. Here you have your My Records page. Your records could be permits through, us, SDCI, could be licenses through FAS, just depending on the different options that City of Seattle offers on the portal. The Help Center is here. There's a lot of useful stuff on this, you guys. You can search for all records in this search box here. This is where you would create a new record. And here's our little section here, street use. You can schedule an inspection. You can find existing records, and then you can log out for another day. Okay, so now we're going to talk about finding the status of your permit, and you can do that in two ways. Option one is you can find an existing street use permit by searching for a record. So to do that, under the Find Existing section on the Seattle Services portal, click on Permits-Street Use. You can do this for any of these options really, but we're talking about street use today. If you know the record number, go ahead and add it into this field. If you don't, you can add in as much information as you do know in these different fields down here and click Search. So that's one option, just to pull up one individual permit. The other option is to use your My Records page. From the Seattle Services portal, just click on My Records and click on Permits-Street Use. If you want to see all your permits, you can also click on this My Records overview too. Okay, once that pulls up, there's this button will actually not say hide because we already expanded it. It will say show. Click on this blue button to show all your street use permits. Okay, and then from that street use permit records page, you can find the status underneath the status column. You can apply for an amendment underneath the actions column only if there's a make changes link available. If you just initiated an application, but didn't submit it, you can also resume. Bye, Jack. Resume application here. That's how you read the records page. Okay, so how to create a new application. Do we have a question?
It looks like we have a question from Jerry. Melody, when an inspection request is submitted, does the Accela confirmation provide inspector name, contact info, time, and steps if the inspection needs to be rescheduled?
I'll talk about that towards the end a little bit. So if you don't mind holding on. Okay, so create a new street use permit application. Go to the create new section on the portal and then click on our permit street use link. And in our kind of permit grouping, we have a utility section, right-of-way construction. That's going to show the right-of-way maintenance, heavy crane, and construction and storage container permits as well, and annual vehicles. Major street improvement, which will be the UMPs and SIPs and final plats. And then we have trees and vegetation, which is just the tree permit, short-term and long-term use, which is already on the portal, as well as the trees. So we have help text on each one of these. Most of these take you to our permit webpage or our permit specific permit type webpage. We tried not to duplicate information as much as we could, but we are linking to our website, so you can just link there instead of having to go to a different window. So once you determined what permit type you need from our webpage, select which one you want. We're pretending you need an UMP. Click that little circle, and then click Continue Application. So again, if you want to find the status of your permit, go to your My Records page. This will show you that, although I didn't really show this here, but if you just submit an application, it'll show up as initiated. Out of order. Okay, I think I did something. I'm sorry, you guys. I think this is a little out of order. Okay, so we're still talking. We went back to finding the status of your permit, which should have been earlier. So when you open up the individual permit here, this page will show up. You have all these different tabs here for different things related to your permit. In the record details tab here, it'll be like a summary of your application information. And you can tab across any of these for other information. So status, related records, attachments, and inspections. Fees also. If fees are due, you can click this link. And then if you want to make a change to the permit, click on this Make Changes button. If you go click on the status tab here, this will show the status of that individual permit. Anything done will show up as a green check mark. Anything in process will show up as an hourglass. And anything that's blank means we haven't gotten to it. For this particular example, the next step is review evaluation here. Please note that not only is the primary review here, that's the street use reviewer, but the secondary reviewers required for this permit are listed as well. So you know exactly who we routed to, when it's due. Please also note that if there is a document required, it'll show up in what I'm calling a red banner, but it's really like an orange banner. I guess it depends on, the individual. If you want more information about the condition, just click on this View Conditions button. Okay, if you want to know more information about the due date and the status of the primary and secondary reviewers, just click the caret to expand, you'll see the status here and the due date here. Okay, to find the status of your documents, click on the Attachments tab here, and this will tell you where it's at. So review means we are in process of reviewing it. Approved means it's approved. All right, how to pay fees. So there's kind of two ways you can pay fees. If you're just paying on an individual permit, you can, from either your My Records page, click on the Pay Fees Due link here, or if you're on the individual record page, go to this fees link here, and then that'll show you your outstanding fees, and then click on the Pay Fees link here. Alternatively, if you want to pay for invoiced fees, so again, it's the same thing we have in Hansen. We either have fees that are due prior to issuance, or we have billed fees, which we call invoice fees. So for invoice fees, you can pay from the My Records page here, same way. Click on Pay Fees Due under Action, or you can check boxes here. You can check all if you want, and click the Add to Cart link. Either way. For this option, the Add to Cart option, if there are permits that don't have fees due, it will not be added to the cart. So for this example, 3 out of the 4 have fees due. So this service installation permit would not be added to the cart.
Looks like we have a question.
Sure.
Emily Best, for entities that are currently invoiced monthly, will we still be invoiced monthly, or will we be paying per permit individually moving forward? Or will we be paying per permit individually moving forward?
So that's a kind of actually complicated question. So yeah, you're still a billable entity. So if you're what we call a billable entity in Hansen, you're a billable entity in Accela, meaning that you don't have to pay for fees before we issue your permit, right? It'll just be invoiced then. Tina, you might have to help me out on this one. However, after probably December of this year, we will no longer be sending out paper invoices. So I guess the term invoice is a little tricky. You're still quote unquote invoiced, but you have to pay for it in the portal. Emily, we can talk about this a little offline too. There is another option of getting an Excel spreadsheet sent to you guys too. And if that's a preference for you guys, we can talk about that offline. Does that make sense? Yeah, SPU. So I'm just talking about if you apply for a permit, this is how you pay for it. If you're charging time to a permit number, this is not, it has nothing to do with this. But go ahead.
Emily says, thanks, Melody. I'll follow up via email.
We've worked with all the SPU work groups around this kind of stuff, so I think everyone's prepared and ready for it. Okay, so once you're in your cart, you can hit the checkout button here. Oh, by the way, you guys, you can pay for fees for all Accela IDs at the same time, right? So it's not just street use. You can, if you have SDCI fees due or whatever, you can pay for it. You can add it all to your cart and pay for it like Amazon. Just know that for street use permits, we don't allow partial payments on our permits. So either you're paying all the fees or you're not. Okay, so once you get to your cart here, if you're ready to pay, just click the checkout button. If you have multiple permit fees in your cart and you want to edit it, click the edit cart button. So again, when you go to edit your cart, you can choose to remove something if you wish. If you're not quite ready for that permit yet. Once you're done editing your cart, click the Save and Close button. That's going to take you to the complete payment page. That looks like this. So credit card is the way to go here. You have to enter your credit card information. If you want to pay by check and everything, we still have those options available through the normal process, accounting process. So this autofill with box here, if the billing account is the same as your login portal account, you can click this autofill with to auto-populate. If it is not, then just enter this information manually. Once you've done that, click the Submit Payment option button, and you're done. And if you want to print and review your receipt, just click on this Print View Receipt button, and voila, there's your receipt. Okay, any questions on fees? Okay, I'm going to keep moving on. All right, so how to make a change to a permit. I'm just going over high-level steps here. We will have a whole hour to talk about amendments the week of launch. Talk about what they mean, which one you need, and the real detail process steps around each type. So if you have an issued permit and you want to make a change, and again, we call modifications amendments in Accela, you go to your My Records page or to your individual records page and click the Make Changes button or link, depending on where you're at. That's going to take you to an amendment type page. Based on your permit type, this will vary. So right now we're on the right-of-way construction amendment type page. You have the option of the revision amendment, which is kind of a scope of work, address, contact, change, catch all. You can also request to cancel your permit. We have our date change request. That is just moving your start date before work starts. And then of course, our wonderful extension amendment type. So once you select one of these options, click Continue Application. Okay, so those are our after issuance amendments. We have one other type of change that you can make at the initiated stage. This is called the withdrawal amendment. If you submitted an application in error and you get to this before street use starts processing it, you can withdraw your application without any guff. So as long as your status says initiated and we haven't touched it, and this Make Changes link is available, click on it. The only option you're going to have is street use withdrawal. Select it and click Continue. That's going to withdraw the application.
We have a question from Rhonda Clancy. How does this apply to permit job starts?
It doesn't. Hey, you know, we had a inspection workshop already, by the way, everyone. So I'll do some high-level notes about inspections in this workshop, but I think most of your questions are going to be in our previously recorded inspection workshop that's on that Accela update website. This is just withdrawing your application, right? So we're not we're not even issuing this permit. We're not doing nothing. We're saying never mind. Okay, here. We're at the inspection page, guys. All right. So the other thing you can do after you have an issued permit is schedule an inspection. So again, I'm not talking about all the details here, but we have many more options than we do in Hanson. Right now we have a job start, which you can call in or email in, but now you can do it through the portal. So depending on where you're at in the inspection process, is what options you'll have. You know, just like we have today, once we issue the permit, you will have a job start notification available to schedule. So to schedule your job start, which will trigger the initial inspection, go to your permit page here, click on the Inspections tab, and in the Actions drop-down menu, you have to click on this caret here, click Schedule. And just a reminder to everyone that you do not have to be logged in or a permit contact to schedule an inspection. Okay, so once you do that, you're going to be prompted to select the date that you want for that initial inspection. The available dates are shown in blue, and that is based on your issued start date and duration. So once you pick the date that you want, click Continue. That's going to pop up this window here. Please make sure that the on-site contact here is the person you want us to call for any sort of enforcement follow-up, or if we got a complaint that your fence fell down or something like that. This information will default from the applicant information, which may or may not be right depending on the organization. If this is not the right person and contact information, click on this change contact link and enter who you want us to contact, right? Click submit here once you're done with that. That tells the inspector who to contact. Okay, you can, in this include additional notes section, you can add notes that you want to communicate to the inspector with. So this is where you can say about what time you're going to have the forms ready, details of what you plan on doing, if you need them there for multiple days. Information like that will be very helpful for the inspector to plan accordingly. And then you click finish to get that scheduled. All right, so once you schedule an inspection, as long as you have a 2 business day lead time, you can reschedule that inspection through the portal. Same process really, except under actions, it's going to show up as rescheduled because look, you already scheduled it, right? Okay, did I answer all the questions around that? Are there any more questions around scheduling inspections? No, we didn't, Justin, we didn't allow cancellations, but you can just email the inspector. I'll talk about how you know who your inspector is in a second. Okay, so the other thing you can do on your inspections tab is check out the pending and scheduled inspections and also the statuses of completed inspections. So Brianna Huff asks, when you go to pay the fees, is the invoice date the date of the inspections? So again, invoicing happens on a monthly basis. So it's a kind of a group batch that we do, but the fee correct me if I'm wrong, Tina, the fee will show the date, right? The inspection fee will show the date, but the invoice is a batch. So I guess it depends on when the inspection was done and when the batch is running. Tina, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I'd say it's similar to a credit card statement where you can see your transaction date or your inspection date, and then you can also see kind of that monthly billing date. So those are the two kind of dates you'll see.
Oh, so that kind of answers Mike Arnold's question too about, so right now, part of the reason why the inspection bills come to you so late is because we manually have to enter that information. And because that is so much administrative work that we were typically months, weeks, if not a couple months behind on that. So the good thing with Accela is it's an instantaneous thing. So when the inspection is done, the inspector will result it right there in real time. Right? So no more receiving inspection bills 3 months after the fact. And Tina, for those, that's going to be a nightly batch. Is that accurate? Or will that come
No,
at the month?
it's part of the monthly batch.
Okay. So it could potentially be a month, but that would be the longest it would have.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So this is what the inspection page looks like. Anything that's pending or scheduled will show up in this section here. This is fake data, by the way, but your real inspector would show up here. We're still using the district inspector map that's on the website. And so if you want to know just by district who it is, you can see that, or you can come here. Completed section is down here. You'll see who resulted by, when, what time. And then if you want more information, click this view details link. And this is what you'll see. So some more information, record number, type, related inspections, schedule, time, and then more history can be found on the view status history and review result comments links as well. If you're already doing permits in Accela, it probably looks familiar. Okay,
Melody, are you going to talk about the inspection result report?
No, how about you talk about it?
Okay, sure. Once an inspection is resulted, then back on your attachments page, you'll also see a report there that talks about all of the details that the inspector captured while conducting their inspection. That's also kind of an instant thing too once that gets submitted. And as Melody said earlier, there's also an email that gets triggered to let you know that the inspection has been completed and where to go look in your record to see that report.
Thanks, Tina.
Sure, Melody.
Okay, well, now we're going to talk about, how to get help after launch. So, I'm going to be real with you guys. This is a big, big thing for us. We've been working on this for almost a decade, to be quite honest. I've been working on this for almost a decade, to be quite honest. And so one of the things that we did is with the different releases for street use is part of the reason we did that is so that we could, start small, learn from it, and really do better the next time. And that also allowed us to understand how we can support you guys also, right? So we've really ramped up our help center articles around our experience with R1, what we were hearing from people, what was confusing about the transition, and also what we know and are anticipating will be confusing about the transition. So I would always say your first stop is the Help Center on the portal. There's a lot of really good stuff there. Really, the main pages I'm going to send you guys to is the Getting Started page, Managing Your Account, and the Permits page, of course. Street use. Okay, so the Getting Started help page. This is again mostly around creating a new account, activating your new account, and managing your employee access to your account. It's really for new users to the platform. If we haven't already worked with you on your contact conversion and account login approach, the Managing Your Account page has a lot of information about account management, how to manage and add delegates, how to download a record list, how to add a professional license to your account, how to change your password, how to add records to a collection. Tina, what's a collection? You know?
I do a little bit. It helps people. It's if you have multiple permits at a location. This is how I think of using it. Helped you group permits in a way that you can say, oh, my downtown project or something. And perhaps that is a collection of 6 permits or something.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I've never actually used it, but that's how I've seen it used and heard of it that way.
All right, and then of course our big long permit street use help page, which is so long I couldn't fit on one page. Here you're going to find articles around how to search, how to pay fees, how to apply for a new permit, how to respond to a correction cycle, how to request a change to a permit, aka an amendment, record information, inspections, all things about inspections. So a lot of really good stuff up in here. And then of course, what I went over earlier is stuff about conversion and how to find your converted permits. And also just some general information about our November launch here. Okay, in addition, like I said at the top of this, we have our new Accela Phase 2 update website. You can find it all the way on the bottom of the S.Permits page. This is what it looks like. Please note it has an option to subscribe to our monthly newsletter, which I highly recommend. That'll help keep you updated. So on this updates website, we're going to have previously recorded external workshops and materials. So we'll get this recording and the PowerPoint presentation up later this week. We'll have launch support information. So the week of launch, come back, check it out. We're going to have information about what our Accela phone line and email are. They're very special and top secret. Changes to help support. So if we've added a new help article because we are hearing that some guidance was needed on some topic, we'll let you know how to get IT support when we're not able to help you, all that good stuff. Okay, and then just to let everyone know, we are redoing a lot of our permit pages to support this launch. And so it won't actually look like this page, but this is what it looks like today. We'll have right-of-way construction, we'll have right-of-way maintenance, heavy crane web page. We're going to keep our utility web work on the right-of-way page and have that speak about minor utility and utility major permits. So just know that we're trying to make these more user-friendly, more in line with what the Accela process is. We'll still have some client assistant memos. We'll still have our plan templates, all that good stuff. But this is another good option for you guys to get help as well. Okay, that's all I had, you guys. Are there any more? Oh, any more questions? No. All right, well, just a reminder that we have our permit workshops coming up. In those workshops, we're going to talk about details about those permit types, document requirements, go through the application process, talk about how to respond to corrections. So we'll talk a lot about the super duper details about each of those permits, some really cool changes. In the utility permit workshop, we'll talk about the side sewer process changes and integration with SDCI. In the construction permit workshop, we'll talk about the standalone curb cut process change and the integration with SDCI. In the SIP permit workshop, we'll talk about SIP Lite and SIP Public Main. Please also note that we'll have some general Q&A sessions the week 2 weeks after launch and longer if needed. Right, so they'll just be 1 hour sessions that you can pop into if you have any questions. All right, pretty sure everyone knows who I am. If you don't, my name's Melody Berry, melody.berry@cdl.gov. Let me know if you need anything. And please just be patient with us. Well, where will access the portal live on the SDOT's webpage? Oh, good question, Justin. So right now in the right panel of any of our web pages, it sends you to our fillable PDF application. Now it's going to send you the portal on the right panel. I didn't talk about that. That's a good one to add, actually. Okay, any other questions? All right, well, thank you, everyone. I appreciate you showing up and your time, and I'm sure I'll see you soon. Bye.